Hello everyone, I'm your host Daniel Litwin, the voice of B2B, and you're watching MarketScale's live Hospitality Industry Roundtable. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you listening along. And we're really looking forward to our roundtable today. Thank you again for joining us. It's going to be great. We've got a varied panel of experts and thought leaders here to give their hottest, their coldest, and some of their most insightful takes on a select hospitality topic. So today we're exploring how hospitality businesses should strategize around bringing back their two key traveling demographics: business travelers and leisure travelers. More and more travelers, whether it's due to getting a vaccine or just general impatience around beating this pandemic, are feeling like it's safe to fly, it's safe to book hotel stays. So today we're asking, how are business versus leisure guests, traveling today? What's motivating their travel? How can hospitality businesses market to and build experiences for both travelers? And how are these two subgroups guiding industry investment? Everything from physical spaces to digital tools to content, rewards programs, and experiences. We're getting into all of it today. Looking forward to it. So, team, before we jump in, I've got a what's new in hospitality. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to get through some quick, timely context around business and leisure travel, what's in the news, and where conversations are landing. So let's jump right into it. Are itching to get back on a plane. A recent TripAdvisor survey showed that close to 80% of consumers are planning an overnight leisure trip in 2021. About a third of respondents are planning at least 3 trips, so we've got a lot of eager travelers. And 50% of travelers are eyeing international travel this year as well. But as intranational trips pick up, so within the states, international business trips to the U.S. are not going to be having that same luck. The U.S. Department of State just altered its guidelines on travel to the U.S. to further prevent business travel from countries like the UK, Ireland, Brazil, South Africa, China, and Iran. So unless your business meeting hits the national interest exemptions criteria of being vital support for critical infrastructure, you're most likely going to have to be connecting on a Zoom call. But even with these U.S. restrictions, not all hospitality leaders are pessimistic about business travel. United Airlines Chief Executive Scott Kirby said that his ideology right now is rooted in business travel being about relationships, not about them being transactional. So he gave this nugget in a recent interview, quote, "The first time someone loses a sale to a competitor who showed up will be the last time you would do a sales call on Zoom," end quote. So we wonder if that mentality is going to stay the same. But the hotel industry is betting on a big return of travelers as well. Timeshare operator Hilton Grand Vacations, for example, just dropped $1.4 billion to buy Diamond Resorts International, and they're expecting that leisure travel gap to fill where business travel may not. So per usual, it's a mixed bag on outlook. Now we're going to add more opinions to that big mixed bag with our panel today. So let's get right to it and source some hot takes. We've got 3 great guests joining us on the round table today. We'll go down the list. We've got Jesse Cole, founder of Fans First Entertainment and owner of the Savannah Bananas. We've got David Trax, a partner at 3877, and Sarah Dandashy, host of Say Yes to Travel and founder of Ask a Concierge. Jesse, we'll start with you. How you doing today?
Fantastic. Fired up for today.
Yeah, it's going to be a pleasure getting to chat.
That's all I got, Daniel, right now.
That's it. All right. We know the energy is high. David, how are you doing today? Great to have you on as well.
Doing great. Enjoying some weather here in DC. All good.
No, very nice. Yes, spring is upon us. And
Indeed.
Sarah, great to have you on as well. Always a pleasure.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we're getting right into it. So we're structuring our show into 2 parts. Part 1 is going to be more on business travel, and part 2 more on leisure travel. So we're starting with some business travel strategies. Let's start with airlines. So for airlines, business travel has been their lifeblood. Here's some stats out of Investopedia from late last year. They point to business travelers only accounting for maybe 12% of passengers, but sales from these passengers were way more lucrative and way more frequent. On some flights, business travelers bring in as much as 75% of profits. So my question to start things off is, will airlines be able to rely as much on profitable business travelers this year to boost that bottom line? Yes or no? Sarah, let's start with you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, a lot of it is what a lot of them are looking towards now is appealing to luxury travelers. I mean, really, it's like, who are the individuals in the travel sector that have the finances to pay, in essence, the same amount that these business travelers were paying, where it was maybe covered by work and bigger companies and organizations. So there's definitely going to be a shift of really trying to appeal to these luxury leisure travelers in the more immediate future. Then I feel like, at least whether it's, don't quote me on the timeline, but whether it's 6 months, really, I would say comfortably at a year mark from now, I think that we can certainly see a lot more business travelers, and more so companies feeling comfortable having their employees go out and travel on their behalf, because that's really, I think, the toughest part is the liability of it, certainly in the US.
For sure. But I can see that changing as time goes on, and quicker. I think quicker than a year, to be honest. I mean, I'm actually already traveling for business. I can see some of our employees beginning to travel quicker for business as well. So I can see that happening at 6 months even. So
I'm going to jump in here, Daniel. I think it's the wrong question to ask about business versus leisure. Be an airline that people want to experience. For instance, when we see business people come to our games, regular fans come to our games, why just be a great airline? And focus on the fun, the experience first, and people want to travel you. Don't try to separate and say business versus leisure. Be an amazing airline that people want to find a way to travel with you. And it doesn't necessarily mean whether they're going for business. They just want to be on your airline. What does that experience look like? I think that's a better question. They can't start compartmentalizing everything. Be a better airline, better experience. Right now, who is the leisure airline? Who is the business airline? They're all competing in the same game. They're playing the same game. Be the only. Which airline's going to be the only one say, you know what? You're going to go with us? I don't care if you're traveling with business, leisure, it's going to be more fun. And I know Virgin and Southwest has done a great job, but no one's really separated themselves right now.
Yeah, actually, I want to chime in off of that, actually, from what both Jesse and David said. Really great points. So really what we're seeing is that there was this trend, obviously, prior to the pandemic, but this concept of bleisure, or however you want to pronounce it, where it's that business and leisure. And so that's why, for example, as David was saying, he's traveling. I have definitely been traveling, for those that have been following me, for work. But think about it. For those that maybe weren't able to travel for the past year for work, and they're usually, whether you call them the weekday warriors, the road warriors, whatever that case is, now all of a sudden they've been home for quite some time, and they're like, I'd be okay getting back out. Maybe it would be nice to get away from the family for a little bit. So you'd also have to keep that in mind, that there is this social element of it, but definitely leisure. But as far as the business versus leisure travelers, that would just be, that's more where it comes to the experience, it's more as far as who's going to pay what. And that's more so the difference than maybe the actual experience. But valid points across the board.
Let me jump over to another driver of business travel and why it can lead to so much profit for airlines. Usually is around businesses incentivizing employees to use things like frequent flyer and mileage programs while on business trips. And that repeatability, that frequency, is something that airlines rely on a lot. It creates a lot of buy-in from the employee and another motivator for businesses to send their workforce traveling. So I'm curious your thoughts on some of the creativity in this space. What are some of the most creative ways that you've seen airlines adapt their frequent flyer and their mileage programs to meet business travelers where they're at today? Have you seen any innovation in that space?
I mean, I think I've seen some where they're inviting me to join in something else that's going to give me more miles when I deserve it, basically, based on ordering something from someone else or that kind of thing, but nothing super strategic.
Yeah, I would say nothing necessarily if it's not strategic, but maybe not creative. It's more of we'll extend where you were with your rewards prior to 2020. So we'll honor that. So there's more so an honoring of the system of where it was. But in actuality, if you kind of look at it, the value of points have definitely decreased over the years. So where people really used to feel like they could get more bang for their buck or their miles, so to speak, they've found that they aren't really able to do that as much. But, you know, at the end of the day, if you always kind of dangle that carrot as far as earn rewards now so that maybe you can travel later, especially with your family, I think that there's always going to be an element of interest for that, even if the value goes down.
Yeah. Jesse, I want to kind of pose the same question to you, but slightly differently. I mean, if we look at your background, you had to completely restructure what a rewards program looked like for your sports team, Savannah Bananas. And I think there's a lot of great learning lessons for what worked and what didn't. Can you lay out a few of those that might apply to something as structured and sometimes as, you know, uncreative as business travel loyalty programs?
Yeah, I think it's interesting for us. You know, we don't have any sales, any discounts, any loyalty programs. We try to provide an experience that everyone would want in the sense of saying, hey, there's no ticket fees. There's no convenient fees. Every game's all inclusive. You know what? We don't have advertising at our ballpark. We just look at what that fans first experience is and do things that we like. So when you look at rewards and loyalty, deliver an experience that even one fan, one person gets to experience and they be wowed by. And so that's our mindset. That's our motto. So as far as like loyalty programs, I think it's like baiting people to try to join you. Create such a great experience. We always say every game is someone's first game. Every day is someone's first time on your flight, at your hotel. You know, why do you now have to get this unbelievable loyalty program? So I get it. I understand the concept. It works. It's a winner. But we're just trying to provide that experience that people don't need to be baited into it or say, oh, if you keep doing this, then you get this or more rewards. Make your experience remarkable from the first time they interact with your brand. That's what we do. And I'm just a crazy circus guy of the baseball team, and we've been fortunate to have some success doing it.
I love it. All right, team, we're whipping out the whiteboards now. So for folks maybe tuning in for the first time on this roundtable, we like to try to get visual with some of our questions. Yes, Jesse brought the giant paper. We've got a giant clipboard from Mr. David and a whiteboard from Ms. Sarah. I'm looking forward to it. So here's the question for y'all, and then I'll ask you to basically write agree or disagree, and I'll ask you for some clarifiers. But on the other side of the equation of loyalty programs is the hotel, which also tries to entice business travelers with rewards and points programs. However, since hotels are very much step 2 of the travel process, relying on business travelers to get on that flight and travel in the first place, those programs I think are even more at risk. So I'm going to throw out a hot take here, and I'm curious if you agree or disagree. So here's my hot take. Hotel loyalty programs for business travelers, at least how we know them today, are no longer a reliable source of profit. All right, agree or disagree? Ready? I'll give you a countdown, and then you got to write down your answer. 3, 2, 1. Let's see that answer.
I said,
I wrote this terribly. Disagree.
I meant disagree.
Okay, disagree.
I should have gone with no.
Jesse, I'm curious, what is that answer supposed to indicate?
I'm taking the 5th.
He's pleading the 5th.
Pleading the 5th. That I like. That's the most creative answer I've seen. Okay. Well, if you're pleading the 5th, then I can't do anything about that. David, let's start with you. Why the disagree?
I think the same, this actually stems, sorry, I dropped that on the floor and then rolled over it. So I think that the same reason that we were talking about earlier with, it's actually kind of a meld of Jesse's answer and what we were talking about earlier, and the fact that I think hotels are going to want to aim towards a different experience and a better experience, and they're going to modify that experience in a way that, maybe you can work from a leisure destination in a fast and efficient fashion, and then that way you can do both everything that you need to. You'll get back to that bleisure extravaganza, but you could do that in those locations very easily. So I can see that rewards thing taking it to a new level if you really sort of drag that into it.
Right. Sarah, your thoughts?
So, wait, you raised your hand. Jesse raised his hand. So did you change your mind?
After Sarah, I'm changing my mind.
The 5th is being uninvoked.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Well, I was going to say I disagree because, here's the thing. whether people are traveling for business or for leisure, I mean, at the end of the day, to have that built-in rewards program is just, it's a no-brainer. I don't know that I would consider having the rewards program was quote unquote a money driver. I almost kind of feel like of it as the icing on the cake. You know, they were already traveling there. David brought up a really great point, which is absolutely a big thing that hotels have been pushing for is so maybe people might not be doing these shorter trips for business right now, but we are seeing longer trips. With so many more people able to work from home, they're actually digital nomads, so to speak. So you have many hotels that are offering a lot of packages to specifically appeal to those type of individuals that is like, hey, you don't have to go into the office, but why not come here and you can work on the beach? We've got great Wi-Fi. You can have everything taken care of and we'll do a great package for you. Guess what? Come with your family too, because also so many kids were learning from home. So for sure, rewards programs are definitely, I mean, for hotels are here to stay. And they've also taken a big lesson from somebody like Airbnb giants in regards to the fact that the points aren't necessarily just used for hotel stays. They're also experiences in the destination, because we know that the hotel is just one part of the travel pie. So rewards points are definitely here to stay for sure. Jesse, go ahead.
Yeah, I know you had some quick thoughts, Jesse.
Quick thoughts. I'm agreeing. Rewards points will stay, and they will continue to bring profit. Your most loyal fans, as we call everybody a fan, will drive your profit. The question is, though, when you're looking at today's marketability and how people are marketing themselves, marketing their businesses, how often do you see people share pictures of their loyalty program? No, you see people sharing pictures of their experience, the things that they see different. That's why Airbnb is winning. So I think for growing a brand, you are not necessarily focusing on the loyalty program. You're thinking about those experiences. So I think profit is, yes, it works. But I just don't think don't lead with the loyalty program, lead with the experience. I'm going to say that over and over and over again. And again, I'm just a circus boy running a baseball team.
And no, but I love that. Thank you, by the way, Jesse, because that's also I pitched it and you hit it.
Pun intended.
Hey, that's all I know about baseball. But you bring up a really, really great point, which is why, if you look at the history of these rewards programs, that they're not just necessarily being like, oh, free nights. Are those the things that people are actually redeeming? They're not necessarily looking to redeem that. They're now really going all in on the experiences, because to Jesse's point, when was the last time that you were on a plane and you talked to somebody, okay, pre-COVID, because you shouldn't be talking to strangers on a plane now, but if you were on a plane talking to a stranger and they just came back from a trip, most likely they wouldn't be like, oh, hey, like we just had this like great room at so-and-so hotel or whatever the case is. I mean, they might say that, but more likely they're going to be like, hey, we were just here and we had this amazing kayaking experience, or we got to go snorkeling, or whatever it is. It's all about the experience, 100%. Jesse, thank you so much for knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
We should have been keeping a tally on baseball puns.
You know what? I'll have a separate list.
Yeah, thank you, David. All right, we're going to switch gears now. It's time for a game or a debate-style segment. We're going to spice things up, and we're really pulling out the big guns because you're going to have to debate some of the most high-profile decision makers in the industry today. So this segment is called C-Suite or Sour. So we're going to roll a few clips from C-Suite or leadership and hospitality over the last several months, giving their thoughts on the future of business travel, and we've clipped them down to a core hot take. So what's going to happen here is you're going to listen to the take, and then you have to write down on your whiteboard whether you think that take is sweet or sour, and then be prepared to defend your answer, and we'll move through these pretty quickly. So if everyone's ready to go, let's rip off that fifth inning. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right, we're going to jump right in. Here's our first one. We're going to be hearing from Ed Bastian.
This summer, we're going to be traveling at scale in the U.S.
So Ed Bastian, Delta Airlines CEO, he said, I think there are real glimmers of hope that we're seeing, and I expect this summer we're going to be traveling at scale in the U.S. Agree or disagree? Sweet or sour? What do we think?
Yes. We were doing them all first, and then
I don't know.
I left space.
Sorry about that. We're going one by one.
Then,
all right, beautiful. So
yes.
Crazy but hopeful, yes. And Sarah, what was your answer?
Oh, agree.
Agree. Okay, beautiful. So Sarah, let's start with you. Why do you agree?
Oh, definitely. I mean, look, there's a pent-up demand for travel. We're already seeing a huge uptick in numbers, maybe not huge, but definitely a more significant uptick in numbers, especially if you want to just even like break it down more technically speaking. Just on Friday, the U.S. was hitting numbers at about 20% of the population of the U.S. has been vaccinated, if not completely, at least have had their first vaccine. So if you're looking at just traveler confidence, that is boding hugely in favor in regards to travelers. And at this point, people are just ready to get back out there. We've all been provided the knowledge with what we can do to be safe and responsible travelers. Now people are, getting out there as they feel comfortable.
I think everybody's just anxious.
Yeah.
We see that we see that not necessarily in the full travel market, but in the world of restaurants around the DC area. As soon as that weather hit, it has been packed, as packed as it can be, but very packed. It's great.
All right, next hot take. We're going to be hearing from Brian Chesky. He's Airbnb's CEO. Here's his quick take, and then we'll get your thoughts.
People probably won't be crossing borders right away or going to big urban centers. They're probably going to be getting in cars and traveling to small communities nearby. That is really the concentration of Airbnb.
I agree.
Yep, agree 100%.
So again, his take. People probably won't be crossing borders right away or going to big urban centers. They're going to be getting in cars, traveling to small communities. What do we think? Is that a sweet take or a sour take? Are people going to be avoiding those big urban centers, going for the small locations? What do we think? Let's get that answer. 3, 2, 1, boom. Ooh, sour take. We're seeing
I think
a
that was
sweet
last summer.
take. Yep, that's a sweet take. Okay, beautiful. Sweet and sour. Jesse, I'm curious that one. You're kind of riding the middle line there. What are your thoughts?
Fully politician mode.
Yes, exactly.
I go back to what Ed. We've seen it here with our team. So we have 50% of our tickets previously were all businesses, and we play this summer, and we have about 10% of that is actually doing tickets. Everything's individual. We're still confident we're going to sell out our games, but it's a whole different group of people that are traveling in. So I think when we just go back to what Ed said of business and being top full capacity at scale, I don't see that happening. And with Brian Chesky, I want it to be. I think we're going to get very close, but just seeing what people are still hesitant to book with us in the summer. And they're only a couple months out because of just where they are in the state of mind. So I want it to be 100%. I just don't think it'll be quite there.
I have a very optimistic view, apparently. I think last summer was the summer that everybody was a little too nervous about it. And I feel like this summer it's going to be a lot more freewheeling.
Yeah, I agree. See, I'm going to go here. I do agree with that. It's just a different amount of people. We had a game on Saturday night, and it was the highest redemption we've ever had. We had 2,000 people that we sold tickets to, and just under 2,000, 99% people showed up, which has never happened in history. So people are ready to go. It's just like I said, I don't think the full community is ready. It's just the right people. The right people are ready to do it.
Yeah, agreed.
And to that point, here's our last hot take. This one's coming from Peter Kern. He's the Expedia Group CEO. Here's what he had to say.
It's not that so many people have been vaccinated, I think, to drive the numbers for us. I think it's really more an expectation that it will be possible in the coming months, and therefore they will be able to go places come this spring, summer, fall.
So, some thoughts there on consumer confidence. Do we agree with him, disagree? Is that a sweet take or a sour take from Mr. Peter Kern? 3, 2, 1. We've got agree, sweet. Yep, everyone likes that take. All right, Sarah, let's hear from you on this last one.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I kind of chimed in on this a little bit earlier, but I mean, we are seeing a very direct correlation with those even countries, but areas that are moving forward with vaccinating at a higher rate and traveler confidence and increasing in future bookings. So again, we're not talking about necessarily traveling this weekend, but we are absolutely seeing people feeling fairly confident, especially knowing that the timeline is that more people should have the ability to be vaccinated should they choose to by May, June. I really expect the tail end of June, July, August, people are really going to be in a very different place and feel much more eager to get out there.
All right, y'all, that does it for C-Suite or Sour. We're definitely going to need to bring that segment back. Okay, that's a fun one. That's a good one. All right,
like
yes,
we're going to take another little pivot here. We're now going to answer a couple questions from the audience. So we've got our live chat going on another window here. We've got a few questions. So this one is for Jesse. So Jesse, this question goes like this. What can entertainment venues that typically cater to out-of-town guests, like Six Flags, museums, some sporting events, what can they do to incentivize more local patrons to attend?
Again, broken record, I still have a challenge with incentivize. You know, again, if you're out there and you're not trying to sell people, again, we don't market, we don't sell, we just show our show and our experience. If Six Flags is doing a good job showing what it looks like, how many actual cameras are in there showing people having a good time, showing like them actually enjoying themselves, even just easy. You look at their website. Are they showing fun, maybe with masks? As crazy as that sounds, that will help people. So it's not about incentivizing. It's about showing the people having a good time and then focusing on that. It's about their fans, their customers, and they have to show it over and over and over again. We're a tiny little baseball team, and we have 5 videographers. Not all full-time, we're not that big, but they're all seasonal. They join us, and they're filming everything, and they're showing it. And at our game the other day, they were showing people dancing and singing together. And yes, they had masks on, but you can show that, and I think that's so important. And then people, whether they're local or far away, will say, you know what? I feel good about this. I need this in my life. I'm going to go experience it.
All right, one more question from the audience. This one I'm going to toss Sarah's way. Sarah, someone in our audience asks, what is the greatest hospitality success story of 2020 going into 2021?
Ooh,
Thoughts?
gosh. Oh, that's a tough one. The greatest hospitality success story? I mean, oh, goodness. I don't know if I could say one, but I mean,
Maybe
what I
your
can
favorite.
definitely say. Okay. I'll say what's worked.
Okay.
Is that what the companies that have, and I'll specifically speak for hotels. I won't necessarily name specifics because certain ones have done this, but those that had the ability to stay open and take care of their employees, as many of them as possible, have really, they've held their own, and they are poised to be better for coming out of this on the other side. Yes, it may have been horribly painful if you're looking at numbers and you're talking about a 5%, 6% occupancy, especially if you're in like a bigger city. But those that were able to stay there and stay open were beacons in this time. And I really think that they were not only beacons to their travelers and their guests, but they were more so beacons to the community. And I think that is really, really important, is that they understand their place in the community.
Love that. Love that. All right, we've got one more question here on this business travel segment. But right now, numbers around remote work are still relatively hazy, but many high-profile companies have instituted permanent remote work policies, and a growing portion of the U.S. workforce will be permanently transitioned to remote work. A lot of positions are now being hired as remote work positions with no pretext that you'll even have to come into any sort of office. So I think this opens up opportunities for at least the white-collar workers and the white-collar workforce to get their job done just about anywhere. So I'm curious y'all's thoughts. What is a top strategy or advice or creative recommendation for hotels and airlines to try to make the remote worker more of a business traveler? How do you build that into that demographic?
Well, I'll steal from Jesse again.
Yes.
I think it's taking the experience of a hotel and giving them the functionality of an office space. And I think that those two things are going to blend together. And you see I actually think there's a little bit of a work vacuum that's happening with WeWork and some of these other groups that are sort of falling apart, where hotels can step into that place. They have spaces that can be dedicated to that easily, and they can transition that so in such a way that workers can work easily from a good leisure destination and not have anything be different.
Yeah. That's great. And I mean, I kind of touched on this earlier, but we've seen a lot of these hotel brands, I'll speak to them specifically, is that they come out with these packages where they are encouraging, where you can work, stay, play, not at home, but actually at a hotel. And to be fair is that honestly, people are going to find that they might need to separate work and home. And so they are going to have to get creative. And if they don't have those other options, like the traditional workspaces of a WeWork or whatever, I have seen a lot of hotels actually appeal to the locals, which is great also in the short term, and say, hey, you can come and work here. You can rent a suite and you can work here. So again, we are seeing a lot of hotels absolutely tapping into this, whether it's more locals and it's someplace for them to go on a regular basis, or again, for those looking for maybe a more exotic destination and staying for a longer time, and providing options for their families. So from babysitting to schooling areas.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring up local. I've got a whole section coming up just on local. But little follow-up here, what I haven't seen considered much is how the hospitality industry is accounting for and appealing to a new traveling workforce. So that would be this fresh crop of graduates that is entering the workforce. They will have never known a professional work environment pre-COVID. Some of them may be business traveling, and some of them may be entering a workforce where it's all business travel, but we're in a post-COVID era, right? So do you see this younger demographic as a potential opportunity to market to create experiences for as a business traveling workforce? And if so, what do you think that looks like? Jesse, do you have any thoughts here?
Well, as you know, I know a bunch of the guys at MarketScale came down here and filmed us. We start with all interns. So everyone starts as a 22-year-old intern. We actually started, we had a 24-year-old president and 3 22-year-olds. So we know this audience pretty well. And you talk about, what is it, business travel? What's it going to look like? It's so funny to think that we surprised our whole team with a trip to Disney last year on March 1, and we're there till March 5th. And so a week before the pandemic happened, we were in Disney with 50,000 people, and we were doing a work trip, but it was a fun leisure trip as well. I think the answer here just comes back to we're hungry for human connection, all of us. And I value the remote work, and I want our team has complete freedom in what they wear, when they work, all this. But getting together means everything. In our last game of this past year, a season ticket holder came up to me and he said, "You guys saved my life." And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Right before the season, I was in a terribly dark place. But knowing that you were having a season, knowing that I was going to be able to dance and sing and be around people and have something to look forward to, you guys saved my life." And he had a tear coming down his face. It wasn't us. It was the human connection. And I think when you talk about young graduates trying to get out and do things, and are they going to be affected by this? They're going to want to be around more people. They're going to want to be able to get out. And we're seeing it. Just what does it look like for travel? Yes, I think there needs to be more experiences. And I think businesses need to provide those experiences for these people. I think we need to create more memories, not just about money, salary, but create those experiences. And I'll tell you, we're still looking at trips that we're going to be doing as a team. And it might be different. We might drive. We might not be flying. But that's so important. And I think that needs to happen.
Well, yeah, no, that's a really great. Okay, I love this. All right,
yeah,
man.
Sorry guys, we had a little costume change because we're transitioning now to the leisure travel side of the conversation. So we got short sleeves on. We're ready for Hawaii. It's
I should have come better prepared.
Yeah, right. Wow. Exactly. I should have passed the leis and the tiki hats, all that good stuff. We're really getting in the mood. Oh, looks like maybe Jesse's going to do a quick costume change. There it is.
Can I chime in with one more thing?
Please do.
Off of what we just talked about?
Please do. Wrap us up, Sarah.
Costume changes are happening. No, quickly. So look, at the end of the day, if we want to really sit there and look at what Gen Z are, we're talking about a generation of individuals that have really grown up with social media for a good part of their life. And there have been numerous studies that have been done on Gen Z that show that they really value experiences over things. So 100% that they are now going into the workforce looking to be, how can they make the best of both worlds, and how can they really have that sort of bleisure experience? So for sure, they're going to be leading the way in regards to that. And
Totally.
you guys look fantastic. Should I take off my blazer?
Came so unprepared.
Yeah, whatever you'd like. No, I know.
I
wanted it to be a surprise,
Okay.
so.
No fair.
I love it. I love it.
I actually would like to tag one last thing onto that too, because we do the same thing with our employees. We bring our employees out to events. We have a yearly retreat of some sort. Last year it was go-kart racing, so we kind of do the same thing, and it's all about having you can have fun at your job and get it done well, and that's all better, right? So I think that might dovetail into the local experience in a lot of ways too.
Definitely. And on that note, let's go ahead and get chatting on leisure travel strategies. So I think what we're going to find is a lot of these demographics end up intersecting more than we'd imagine. Yeah, Jesse's got that energy. Oh, I love the sunglasses indoors. That's good. That's good. So let's chat on the demographics for leisure travelers. I think hotels in general are having to reassess their demographics, especially as COVID persists in different areas in the US. So for example, hotels in Orlando, which are close to a lot of major resorts and attractions, would run a younger, family-oriented audience experiences, right? Whereas hotels in Vegas are going to pull more for adult singles, couples, and traveling business folks as well. So as more Americans are vaccinated, do you think that these predictable traveler demographics are going to look the same, or are they going to look radically different? Are we dealing with a completely new landscape? What are we thinking? We'll start with Sarah here. Sarah, what do you think?
Oh gosh, I was going to say, I was like, David, you go first. You go first.
Right. What do we think? I mean, David, if you want to answer first, happy to toss it your way.
It's tough unless you had a crystal ball to know what was going to happen. It's hard to gauge because I don't think anybody knows what's going to change on the way out of here. It might take a little time to sort of people be a little hesitant here and there, but I think as time's going to go on, it's going to relax more and more.
Yeah, and then to take it back, since sorry, I didn't mean to hot potato that question, but I mean, so to speak.
Expert.
But I mean. Exactly right. I said as we did,
yeah.
But I think we ultimately look. At the end of the day, we are creatures of habit, and so maybe on the way out, it might look different. But again, as David said, as people get more comfortable, I think that we might find that a lot of those similar trends will kind of end up. We'll kind of like relax back into that. But I think fresh out of the gates, I think everybody's going to experience everything because they're so experience hungry at this point that they're going to be doing a little bit of everything and getting creative with it too.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right, here's another question for y'all. This one I need your whiteboards for, so let's get those prepped. So here in Texas, we just reopened all businesses to 100% capacity. We've also removed the mask mandate. In other states, though, like New Hampshire, they're actually still actively tightening a lot of those restrictions. And overall, it's just incredibly decentralized, right? So I think that puts hotels especially in a bit of a challenging spot, especially if you're a hotel chain. How do you manage your properties in Texas versus New Hampshire and everywhere in between? So I'm curious your thoughts. Here's my hot take, and I want you to either agree or disagree. Hotel chains are actually very prepared for a decentralized approach to reopening. Do we agree or disagree that hotels are prepared for that decentralized approach? Ready? 3, 2, 1. Let's see those answers. Agree, no idea, and agree. Jesse, I really appreciate the honesty. That's what I love to see. Let's go to David. David, you said you agree. What is it about the chain infrastructure or just where hotels are at today that gives you confidence in their ability to manage that decentralized approach?
I think a lot of it has to do with just the way hotels are managed. That management comes from the property out. So every manager can handle each jurisdiction as they need to. And that allows them to make adjustments where they need, when they need. that kind of thing. So I feel like that structure is good for this kind of thing.
And Sarah, I know you also
and
agree.
if I could chime in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do. I agree. I mean, yeah, as what David was saying, it's like the management companies they understand this. Every property is destination specific. So whether it's with the type of travelers that they attract, they also have to adhere to different rules and regulations. And this is pre-COVID. So, I mean, they have different taxing, rules and everything. So they're absolutely prepared for that. And they have people on the ground that will be, reacting accordingly. But I mean, it is what it is. This is what we are living in this world right now. And so they're totally prepared that there maybe some of their properties will bounce back faster, and some, will just take a longer curve to it, but they're learning from each other.
All right, here's another question for you.
Do you want me to elaborate on?
I mean, yeah, if you want to elaborate on no idea, I'm happy to hear it.
I was kind of joking. But I will say Daniel, I'll say this. I have no idea about hotels, but what I'll say is that they should look at the decentralization as an opportunity to experiment every different hotel they have. Can do if they only get 20% occupancy, they have to wear masks. What are those new things they can try in their lobbies, in their restaurants? Look at everything as an experiment. I think it's a great opportunity, the fact that there's different rules in each state, because now they're like, wow, we have to find a way. And so if they ask themselves, how do they find a way in each hotel, they're going to win. That'll help the overall hotel. You can sit there and say, oh, we're in trouble. This is terrible. This is brutal. Or you can experiment. Jeff Bezos said it best. Our success is a direct function of how many experiments we do per year, per month, per week, per day. So hotels, look at every experiment you could possibly do. That's what I would do. That's my no idea.
I love it.
Well,
all right, here's
and
another
to even
question.
Understand the fact that hotels are not one size fits all. Sorry about that.
Right.
Just hotels aren't one size fits all. So just like there's no one size fits all when it comes to a guest experience, why would the business model be one size fits all?
And they're always shooting for loyalty or within the neighborhood anyways. Mm-hmm. So they're always trying to build a locale of a group of people who will come to the bar, to the restaurant. So all of those things are to their benefit now if they can build up that energy around their neighborhoods.
Here's another question for y'all on leisure travel demographics. This one is for families. So I know hotels is often relied on extended stay travelers, which are regularly families, to bring in more revenue. Long vacations, multiple people per party. They're looking to, binge on the full experience, lots of moolah. Appealing to this demographic often intersects, in my opinion, with some of the most innovative and exciting experiential tech, events, and programs that hotels can offer. You're dealing with an audience that is really seeking for that fun. Well, then perfect, you can build great experiences around them. So what are some thoughts from all of y'all on what airlines or hotels or really anyone in the hospitality space can do to appeal to that leisure traveling family, that extended stay family today? What's exciting? What's working? Jesse, any thoughts here?
I love you. Got to be again the circus boy running a baseball team.
Well, I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
I have a family, so that's good. You know what I think it's interesting? Like, Simon Cowell said, I just choose music that I like, and George Lucas said, I just tried to create a movie that I would like. So I guess just thinking as a person who has, a 3-year-old and a 2.5-year-old foster daughter and my wife, again, I think. How do they appeal? Is that the question? How do they appeal to families? Yeah, or just like what are some creative strategies that you've seen work or ideas that you would have for events, experiences that play well to a family audience, right? The young folks as well as their parents. Yeah, I mean, I think, my wife and I, we have a couple Airbnbs on Tybee Beach, Tybee Island, and we're just continuing just to show and showcase it, as far as a place just to come and be with each other at unique places. And we've seen more families. Our Airbnb business is up this past year versus the previous year, and which is crazy. That's 1 month shut down, and mostly it's been longer family stays. And so I think families are looking for that. And I know we're looking for the opportunity to go somewhere unique and have some time to be together. So again, I don't know how they would appeal to it other than just continue to show that without trying to sell people, just show people having a good time. But again, I'm not an expert.
Yeah, if I could chime in on this, because I
Sure.
definitely have a lot to say on this, but yeah, they are. In short, they are. I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier when I was talking about how different hotels have enhanced their programming, appealing to people that might want to work on the road and stay for longer periods of time. They're also keeping in mind that they're traveling with family. So they are creating areas that maybe kids can go ahead and they can continue their remote learning while at that property. Also offering different activities for kids as well too. So they've really enhanced their offerings for kids to do something, to have experiences there. Also, another big thing that we're seeing, you can go ahead and look at the big hotel giants. We'll look at Marriott, for example, just because they're so well known. One of the big changes that they made in the middle of last summer, they launched Homes and Villas by Marriott International, a hotel that is now very vocally getting into the whole home rental space. And that is a direct, they're directly looking at families traveling, because we know multi-generational travel is happening. People haven't traveled for some time. They need to create a space for families that are traveling with everyone from grandparents to grandkids, that they can be together for extended amount of time and also have that space to feel comfortable around each other.
And David, I'm curious your thoughts from a development and a design perspective. How do you see innovation, creativity around creating spaces and experiences that appeal to a family audience today? What do they, look for, and what's working in your experience?
I think I've been racking my brain about that, and I think a lot of times what we're seeing are the properties that have kitchens, where it's a little bit more of a true extended stay property, where you can stay for a long period of time, not necessarily have to eat in a restaurant every time, but you have sort of your own space to hang out in. So that seems to be the best part. Best approach.
All right. I've got one last main question for us before we start to wrap, but this one is looking at local travel, like I teased we were going to be talking about today. So the last year has obviously proven difficult for pulling intranational travelers, right, within the U.S., let alone international. And I think this posed a very unique opportunity for the hospitality industry to market and promote local experiences for local audiences. No one's traveling, so what can I get out of my community that's already here? Things like staycations, community exploration, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm curious if this is still a viable strategy. Is trying to build a community of local tourists a viable long-term strategy for hotels and for hospitality experience? And how does marketing have to shift to pull those people that are already in the community versus relying on a steady stream of intra or international travelers?
I think you can't go wrong if you're getting more local people. That just adds to the current, what you had as your base before. I don't see why you wouldn't want to do that. It drives revenue in the restaurant, even if they're in the immediate locale. It can really help all of the amenities at any hotel property. So I don't see why there wouldn't be more work on that.
Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely agree. I mean, we saw it was a big push last year, and moving forward, absolutely. A lot of it's also destination specific. So you want to, keep that in mind, and also kind of understanding the culture too. That culturally, some areas it may not, like, people are like, why would I ever do a staycation here? Let's say it's Huntsville, Alabama. I don't know. And by the way, and it's not to say anything with that, but like, for example, in Los Angeles, staycations are huge. So a lot of that really, it depends on the actual area and what sort of makes sense to the local area. So for sure they're definitely going to continue to do that because travel's personal, and everybody, even as we come out of this, some people are ready to travel as of 5 months ago, and some people are going to need a whole other year before they're ready to travel.
Agreed.
And Jesse, any final thoughts on that one?
You always go to me at the end. It's like
I got to, man. I got to.
You're the closer.
Yeah.
The circus boy in the baseball team. talking about here. Now, I guess our director, our host over here, works at the Plant Riverside District, which is a big resort that was opened down in Savannah. And they were 100% occupancy this past week. St. Patty's Day is big down here. But what they've noticed, and I know all of our teammates and our staff here, they go there constantly because of the new restaurants, the new experiences that they have. So, I think one question is, can you provide something special and unique without doing a discount? Maybe a special locals only menu or a special local experience. Not necessarily a discount or a price. So, I'm against that, but something that people can talk and say, hey, you got to check it out. They got this special unique thing for the locals that because I think that adds a unique thing that makes locals feel special. And I think there's an opportunity there. So I would ask that question. I mean, I know in Tybee, the prices are very high because it's a travel. They do have local discounts, but wonder if there's something you could do that's separate to make them feel unique. And I think that's where you're going to win a lot more locals in the future.
Ooh. If I could.
Yes, favors.
Ooh, I have something to add.
Jazz hands.
Thank you, Jesse. Again, I was always saying that hotels should be focusing on this prior, and again, with the influence of Airbnb on hotels, again, prior to the pandemic, it's trying to get these hotels to think not just heads and beds. Yes, of course you want heads and beds, but again, it's about the overall experience. So as Jesse was just talking about restaurants, these other things, maybe they have this Instagrammable rooftop bar, whatever that is, if you have that, you can make an incredible amount of revenue from locals coming to have a drink on the rooftop, have dinner, do high tea if it's a fancy place, whatever that is. That's an incredible moneymaker that doesn't even involve people staying overnight necessarily. Mm-hmm. And hotels should absolutely be double downing on that because you just have a higher profit margin.
All right, team, that does it for our main takes for the day. What a great roundtable. It's been really a pleasure chatting with all three of you. For our last thing, we're going to go person by person. I'm going to ask you what has been your favorite take of the day and from who, and what has just been your key takeaway that's really going to stick with you from this. So we'll start with David this time. So David, what's been your favorite take from the panel today and from who
Jesse.
and why?
Jesse has been my favorite take. I don't know. I'm a parent. I'm going to go to a Savannah Bananas game as soon as I can. I don't even know how I have to get there. It's going to be a drive. That's all I can tell you.
I love it. Sarah, how about from you?
Well, first of all, both gentlemen have brought up really, really great points. So I will play the diplomatic card in that. But I have to say, Jesse has made me realize that yellow is actually very stylish. So that's probably my biggest takeaway.
Yes. We're bringing back yellow, okay? It's time.
I didn't realize that shirt's ruffled.
And also experiences are important, obviously.
Exactly.
You've got to get really close to the camera. All right, Jesse. Yeah, right. Here it goes. For you, what's been your favorite take of the day and from who and why?
I can't remember 5 seconds behind this, so my memory is really focused here. But I will say this: the last thing that Sarah said, I thought about Instagrammable moments, and I think that's something to create. Social media is a very powerful world, but it's what's behind that. Those Instagram moments that people want to remember, that are remarkable, that they will tell their friends about. How can whether you're a hotel, whether you're an airline, whatever you're in the business, create those moments that people will never forget, and everything else takes care of itself. So Sarah, thanks for throwing that out there. That made me think more, how can we do that better?
Mm-hmm. And I'll throw in my favorite take here. David, I'm going to give you some love. When you were talking about family travelers and what's going to bring them in, you spoke to the amenities in the space that often do a lot of the heavy lifting. And I think that goes to show that as much as that big experience is going to do the heavy lifting to entice travelers to come back, I think the basics, you can't go wrong with them either, right? You make sure all those key amenities are there. What is a family going to need if they're staying a place for a full week? All right, they're going to need that kitchen space. They're going to need that parking spot. They're going to need, that ability to travel from point A to point B in as seamless, as frictionless as possible, right? And those little things, I think, can go a long way to building that broader experience. If you don't have to think about the small stuff, then you can enjoy the big stuff. So All of that to say, everyone, you all gave some great thoughts today, and I really appreciate everyone joining us on this roundtable. So I'd like to thank our guests again, Jesse Cole, founder of Fans First Entertainment and owner of the Savannah Bananas, David Trax, partner at 3877, and Sarah Dandashy, host of Say Yes to Travel and founder of Ask a Concierge. Thank you to all three of you, and thank you to everyone for watching our MarketScale Live Hospitality Roundtable. We'll be back every week Monday with some quality industry content. We're going live. We're bringing on the hot takes, some of the cold takes, but everyone's been laying out the hot takes as of late, so I might need to change that intro moving forward. Thanks again to our three guests. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll catch you next time. I'm Daniel Litwin, the voice of B2B. See you next time.